Well, hello there. This is Shane with Shane's Reviews, and I hope you are having a wonderful day. So before I forget how to say this, The Traitor, Cormorant. Yes. Wrote by Seth Dickinson. Narrated by Christine Marshall. Okay, now, there was one of you wonderful people. So this person had told me about two series, and one of them I had actually already bought, but I had never listened to, and we'll talk about that one later. And this one is the first part of a series, and so that comment, it was long, and I'm not saying that as any kind of a dig. I'm not. Would love to encourage conversations like this, but essentially he gave, this is the story, this is kind of what I see, it's kind of fun to do this, and all that kind of thing. So that was much appreciated. Very cool. So we're going to look into this book. Now, before I start, it is fantasy, which technically is, speaking, as I've said before, in my opinion anyway, sci-fi, and so we're going to go over it. Now, there is a huge amount of back and forth in this book, so it's very dialogue centric. Essentially, it's an age-old story of conquest in a way, right? This is a book that was published in 2015. It was the debut from Seth, if what I just read is accurate. It follows this young woman by the name of Baru, and Baru, as she's growing up, is happy-go-lucky, incredibly intelligent, and very capable. She has two fathers and a mother, and they have a very unique societal norm. So two men are allowed to marry, two women are allowed to marry, and this is long ago in the way that we would view things. So it's really cool to see that dynamic where we don't have electricity and such, in my mind, at this point in the book, and there's no trains, no steam engines, nothing like that, but the people that are living in this area are so free to just love who they love for who they are. Some people enter into contractual type marriages whenever it's like two people that can benefit each other, and or soldiers are loving soldiers as they're out and about, but it doesn't go into a lot of like details that's going to be like in your face type of a thing. It's a really neat concept to see in a book whenever it first opens. Now, and I can also understand the reason why this book was, brought to my attention. Whenever I was talking about Dune, I was talking about how interesting I found the kind of familial politics that go back and forth in between the House Atreides and blah 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 blah. If you would, please put a little thingy over here so that they can see it if they want to click on it, and we'll wait right here for you to come back. Yep, still waiting. It's okay, you can finish it. You're not going to go? Okay, well, I'll go ahead and say what I gotta say then. This book has a lot of that political type stuff. There's this little fishing town, little hunting area, and Baru's there. There's these people that have come in to visit with the town, and she's already noticed that these aren't the usual traders. The winter season is upon them, things are getting ready to start changing, and of course all the trade people are starting to, pack up and leave, or they have boats they go to on a daily basis, or whatever. But these people have done all these things that are kind of anti this behavior, and so she ends up getting a telescope and seeing this warship off on where, oh, look, okay, well, this makes a lot more sense. We're getting ready to get raided. Great. That kind of a thing was getting ready to happen. And she picked up on it and started calling the people out that were kind of in charge of it, right? And so she calls them spies. She knows that they're learning the language. They're making notes. They're going to be teaching people how to speak their language. And that is one of the most clever opening scenes I've seen in quite some time whenever it comes to showing, not telling, but showing the character of a character. So we find out in the get-go that Baru is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and that she's probably going to achieve great things. And then we go on a really wild ride. It's not that it is a story that hasn't been told before. It's fantasy, so much of the elements of the story are going to be things that have been read before, but it's in the way that it's presented. So instead of being, oh, you're a woman that's downtrodden and you'll never get anywhere, it's, oh, you're a woman. What's your sexual affiliation? Oh, well, you're not ever going to amount to anything. And then her going, yeah, whatever. And not with that kind of an attitude, but she just isn't made of the same stuff as the people that want to hold her people down. And that is the thing that really got my blood boiling in this story. And it wasn't that I was mad. No, indeed not. It's that I was excited about it. She runs off. She goes to the colleges. She gets involved in this masquerade, and they have this unique societal thing in this association of the masquerade, where if you're a professional and you're either teaching or if it was today's world, firefighters would wear a mask, policemen would wear a mask. You never actually know who it is that you're talking to unless you really know them and know their voice. But the reason why they do that is so that a person isn't judged, essentially. But here they are judging the way that people live and wanting to change them completely. So there's so much hypocrisy in that whole thing that they don't even see. Not much like today's world, because that doesn't happen at all, right? Anyway, digression. So, professors are going to have masks on, people giving talks or whatever it is. They all wear masks, and that's why it's called the masquerade. So there's that little tidbit. So she gets involved in this. She goes through her schooling. She does really well. She starts to try to learn from other people, and it ends up wrapped up in a huge scheme. And it wasn't that the author was being lazy. That's not what it was at all. There's the downtrodden people of this entire world that didn't originally come from this masquerade, right? And so they come in, they change everything up and expect people to be happy, and everybody's miserable. But then there's also the corruption aspect of things, and that's where she gets wrapped up, because she's going to be much like an accountant, and she finds a bunch of discrepancies in things. She ends up rising through the ranks, not by starting out at a lowly rank and going, no, they throw her right up at the top because they see how good she is, but they also are going to use her as a pawn. And she very quickly figures this out. So it's interesting to see that there's enough exposition of not necessarily this is how Baru felt today, but it was moreover through the scene, how the scene was playing out, seeing how the characters interact with each other in these scenes is actually where I was getting this subtle clues, this information of how comfortable, uncomfortable this person would be, etc. So the descriptors inside of it, the language inside of it is really well done in order for me to pick that up without somebody actually saying, today I was feeling really depressed because I found out that that's not the kind of book that it is. And in fact, I'm sure that this is one of those books that if I go back and I reread it, I'm going to pick up on much, much more than what I already have. And I can already tell, and of course I had a heads up, so thank you for the heads up, but I can already tell there's all these little nuances that are going to be so very important throughout the rest of it that you might not be paying attention to, and you might even miss if you're not a detail-oriented person. So it's one of those fun things. I never really played FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's, right? It just wasn't, jump scares just aren't really my thing, but whenever you start ripping into the game and tearing it apart, even looking at code, taking all these little detours that the game will provide you if you get into it, there's so much just to do outside the game to play. And I think that this is going to be one of those things as well. I can see it coming. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can kind of see the way that we're going to head. And so I like it, and I like it a lot. So to you, I would like to say thank you for recommending this, because I think it's going to be a really good series for me to read. Am I going to cover all the books in this series on this channel? Probably not. But it has been an incredible read for me, and I'm looking forward to going back and finding those little nuances and see what I think. I'm not going to do any postulation at this point. I want to read it a second time before I start throwing out theories about what I think the second book might be. Because granted, I know it came out in 2015, and yeah, sure, I could look it up on the internet and find out all this kind of thing, but that's not the fun part of it, is it? What are some of the things that I felt while I was reading this book? Damn right. Did I catch you off guard? I mean, seriously, I did. I felt that whole, it's about time. Because there's actually some very serious subject matters that are taken care of in this book that people usually just gloss over. And I'm glad that they did. I'm glad that Seth did. And the reason being is, one, whenever it comes to, and I've said this multiple times, so usually the people that speak the loudest about something are usually the ones that really don't know what the heck they're talking about. So I've just subtly, over the course of time, have kind of established my character of love who you will, I don't care. As long as you're not hurting anybody physically or emotionally. Love who you want. And if the people in your life don't support you for that, find some new people to put in your life. Because it shouldn't matter. If you fall in love with someone, you should be able to love who you care. It doesn't matter. And it goes for other things too. And I mean, that's just kind of the way that I view life. So there's that. But seeing how this group of people wanted this group of people to change their ideology and the way that, in my opinion, they were living was much better than the way that these people were living, because they're so rigid that if they did care for somebody, they probably wouldn't share their feelings for it. So emotionally, these people that Baru came from would be so much more emotionally capable of handling the situations around them and what they come across, and would in general be much happier than these rigid people over here. I kind of endorse where that was going on that, because that's kind of the way that it should be. Just, I don't care. And I'm probably going to get some flack for it, but that's okay, because that's the way I see it, and your opinion's how you see it, and you can't change an opinion. Fact. Put him on your sleeve. Maybe somebody don't care. So, other things was the political side of this, because at first I was like, no, this ain't going to be for me. However, seeing how everybody starts to band together, they want to do something that's going to be a subversion, and the way that the subversions are kind of killed to begin with, and or some subversions are encouraged to start so they can be controlled and then pushed out so that people stay where they are. Subtleties. Seth, well done. Yes. So there's all these little things like that. So I'm going to say this. If you like fantasy type things and the sci-fi fantasy world, then this is going to be a book that you're probably going to like when you pick it up. I mean, the stuff that I'm talking about, I'm kind of putting it in your face. So, apologies if it upsets you, but, come on, it's 2020. After the pandemic that we've been going through, maybe we should stop caring so much about particular things and care more about others, right? But with that being said, those things are not in your face the entirety of the book. They might be mentioned a few times, but I wouldn't really care if it was mentioned a whole lot of times because of the way that it is approached. Whenever it come to the way that different people were interacting with each other, I felt like the characters were true to themselves, and nothing has been really kind of crazy, magical, boom, boom, explode, dragon fall from the sky kind of a thing. It's been more, it's old Earth, Middle Earth type of a adventure. So it's been kind of fun to see that. Am I leading you astray? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you everything about this book because I want to encourage you to read it. Haha. There's that. So, with that being said, what have we got coming up next? Well, I've got Guardians of the Moon from Steven Erikson, which was also, that was this at the beginning of the video whenever I mentioned that there was a book that I had purchased but I had never read. That's it. And for whatever reason, I had skipped over it. I don't know why. That's very much not like me to do that. But I look forward to reading that one as well, and then going through the second book of the Masquerade series. So this is Shane with Shane's Reviews. I enjoyed this book. Thank you so much for the recommendation. Feel free to leave others. I will certainly check them out. And I'm not sure which one of these videos over here YouTube's going to want you to check out. If you pick one of these two that we may or may not bring in, well, we'll bring the border over, but sometimes we just don't put anything over there. The answer is pizza. Okay? Pizza. That's the answer. That's why that doesn't happen. Pizza. But I'm just teasing. But anyway, the long of it all is, if you happen to pick one of those two videos, I will see you in the next one.